recently the third installment of the Knives Out series was released, and it's
Wake Up Dead
called
Man.
correct Knives Out: Wake Up Dead Man. Now, for those who don't follow the Knives Out series, this is not part two or part three. They've kind of branched off from. So it was number one, and then the next two that came out are actually like their own separate entities. Because they are not Knives Out 2, which is why you see they have different names. They also have
Yeah.
different characters, different stories. There's just the detective is the piece that continues to be repetitive in the series. But all the characters from number one are somewhere separate doing other things. And it is said that at some point, Knives Out 2 will come out.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear for anyone who's new to this series or doesn't really know what's going on. And maybe you were just on Netflix and saw that this movie came out.
Yeah.
Have you seen the other ones?
Yes, I have.
So you've seen all three?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So if you don't mind, I'll start.
Sure.
I think what's cool about this series is, yeah, the detective is the main character moving forward in the second and third one. And you could say in the first one, but kind of not really. I guess it's perspective, but whatever. He's like the continuous piece, and that's cool. It helps the continuity, the consistency. That's cool. But I also appreciate that all three of these films are not a copy and paste of the same film. Often when we
Yeah.
see spin-offs or sequels, we see that like, all right, you gave me the same movie, identical. You just maybe changed one little tiny piece so it won't be fully identical.
Yeah.
With this series, what I appreciate is you're getting completely, yeah. Is it a mystery? Yes. Is it a whodunit? Yes.
Yeah.
But that's it. Everything else is different. So in the second film, it was a totally different scenario than the first film. And this third
Mhm.
one took a huge deep dive into religion, where the second one was like a business situation, right? It's like business, partnership, friendship,
Yeah.
weirdness. This third one was all about religion and faith and the small town. So very, very different.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that. I think what this film did the best was the mystery piece. In
Yes,
my opinion,
I agree.
this was the hardest one to figure out because they kept throwing you off, even though I guessed it very early. But they did a lot of things to throw you off the scent of the who it was and why it was. Because
Yeah.
even my who it was not the why it was. When I said, "Oh, this person definitely did it," later on when they said why they did it, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't guess half of that shit. I thought it was just this one little thing over here. It
Right.
was like a whole plethora of things." So I
Yeah.
think what they did very well, probably the best, was the mystery component, keeping
Mhm.
you guessing and trying to figure out, well, what the fuck is actually going on here? But I think what they did very poorly in this movie was pacing. The pacing of this movie was not good. It dragged, and that
It
brought
did.
down the film, in my opinion. So it was kind of like the best one and the worst one simultaneously. Because while it had the greatest mystery proportion and kept you guessing, it also felt like you were watching this movie for 8 hours, and that's
Mhm.
never good. And to me, if I don't know what the score would be if I ranked it 1 to 10, but what I was gonna say is I think when you have a 1 to 10 system or whatever, 1 to 5, however you like to do it, for
Mhm.
me, dragging and bad pacing brings the score way down. And so that makes it hard to judge this film because as great as it was, the pacing was fucking terrible. It took forever to get to the point of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It did drag. It dragged to the point where I was very frustrated. I
Because you
because
wanted it to be over or because you wanted to know who did it?
I wanted to know who did it. I was very anxious because some of it was confusing to me,
Yes.
which was intentional, I know.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I think when it drags and it's confusing, it's frustrating.
Right.
It's
Because
like,
it's like
all
pick
right,
one.
yeah, it's like, all right, let's get on with it now. Like, what are you saying? What are you trying to tell us? because, and I get how impatient that sounds, but that's that's the way I felt watching it. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I just felt like I'm fine with the misdirects. That's the whole point.
Right.
I'm fine with the mystery of it all. Again, that's the point. It's
Right.
just that there were certain moments where it was like, I what does this matter? It kind of felt like they included details that they didn't really need to include, but also at times seemed to exclude details that maybe I would have liked for them to include.
Right.
There were things happening, like there's one part where um the priest goes to close up the, well, there were two pieces to that irritated me. The priest goes to close up the church. First of
Okay.
all, he goes to close up the church and never does, and leaves the detective in the church, which to me didn't make any sense. You
Right.
went there to close up and then you left someone in there with the door open.
Right.
It just, that didn't compute to me.
Because he wanted to go for a walk in the rain.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. It was just kind of like, well, then why did we even go to the church? Like, I get why we went there, but then maybe cut that off early. We didn't need that extra bit about him leaving and whatever. Maybe we just panned to him out in the outside or whatever. There's also a piece where I don't think this ever got resolved, where as he's leaving the church right after that, he tries to close, I don't know what that thing is called, but it's like a marquee that has like the church information. He tries to close it and it flies open and something falls out of it.
It was
They
one of the
never,
letters.
was it the letters? Okay, because that, I was like, what
Yeah.
the hell, Beyonce? I was really annoyed by that. I was really annoyed by that scene. And the lead up to the next scene. The next scene was fine, but it was just that moment where it was, and there were a couple of other moments like that where I was just like, all right, I get it. And I think that in a murder mystery, attention to detail is really important. Being meticulous about the details in the film is very important. That's what makes it even more interesting, because if you as a viewer are paying attention to those things, then like some of the anxiety that you feel is wanting to get to the part where they explain it all to you.
Right.
I get frustrated when those things don't get explained, because I'm just like,
Mhm.
well, why were we here? Now, because I know enough, I can deduce that, well, maybe there was more and it ended up on the cutting room floor. But then you gotta make sure that that is edited properly too. What's left is edited properly too.
Right.
So that was a frustration of mine. But I think overall it was decent. I mean, like I said, the mystery of it all, the misdirects, and you pointed this out as well. Those were great, because
Yeah.
by the time you got to the end of the film, even though you might have thought of who the murderer was, or maybe I thought like five different people did it at
Right.
any given time. I was like, but then maybe it's this person, but then maybe it's that person, but maybe it's, nah, I don't think it's this person. Well, they could
Right.
be. Um, so yeah, I like that. I like that when I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But also, man, I didn't realize that this happened or that happened, or I didn't even catch that piece, or
Right.
so I think it did its job when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, not too many complaints on it. I agree. I think there was just a lot of like fluff in the middle of it, in between. There were certain pieces that we really didn't need. If
Yeah.
you were going to show us one piece of a conversation that people had and then wait till later to show us the full conversation, you probably didn't even need to show us the entire conversation again. I just feel like those are to me that's poor like editing, but
Yeah,
you know,
but that's the
who am I?
director,
I'm
right?
not a filmmaker, so I
Well, but
hate
that's
saying stuff like that because I'm like, ugh, that's a bit aggressive for me to say, but yeah, I feel like that was the issue. I feel like they could have cut some of it and it would have been a bit more seamless than it was.
yeah, because it wasn't seamless at all, and that's the real crux of the issue.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, and I also really quick want to point out that Daniel Craig. It's so bizarre watching him play this role.
I love it.
I love it too because it's so ridiculous of a role for him. Like it's just it just makes me laugh. You're watching a murder mystery, but it's still like I'm so tickled by him because when you first see him in these movies, you're like, "That's Daniel Craig."
Yep, a
He
Southern gay
transforms
detective.
into this like this man was Bond. Like he transforms into this completely different person, and I love
Yeah, I
it.
love it. I love
Yeah.
that it shows the range that he
Yes.
has.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's always dope when you see the range of an actor, whether man or woman or whatever. I just
Mhm.
love when it's like, well, that person only does serious roles, and then they go play a complete clown the next
Right.
movie, and it's like,
Right.
well, I could do that shit too.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.